Hello guys and welcome back. We are here for my full honest review of Enshrouded. I am doing this as a rant review because this is my 7th full take of this review, and this game has so many ups and so many downs that every single time I try to give a review on it, I go off on a tangent because there are so many things to talk about, and you have to kind of talk depth explaining what is wrong with this game, because there are a lot of things wrong with this game. That is why this is a rant review. There will be rants in this. I also want to give an actual valid review here, so it's going to be a balance of both. So first off, Enshrouded is an open world RPG game. It's labeled under survival. I'll tell you right now, this game is in no way a survival game. There is no element that kills you in this game other than the shroud. And one of the rants is that you can completely bypass the shroud by just logging out of the game, logging back in, and you're safe. This game has a lot of exploits like that. It is completely broken. If you play it without doing goofy things like that, the shroud is in no way really a danger. You have a lot of time in the shroud, and you can also get a lot more time in the shroud. You never really have to worry about dying. There's no element of thirst, hunger, any of those things. It's not really a survival game. The story behind it is your guy is chosen to save humanity because there are ancients and there are humans. The ancients were friends with humans, and one day humans had a stranger show up with a gift. The gift was, it kind of refers to it kind of like a drug. People get addicted and greedy to it. It says it's a cure and a weapon. Humans seek it out. They dig these wells to get more of it. And upon digging the wells, they release a mushroom, and it's an invasive mushroom that basically kills and strangles everything that comes within, X amount of feet of it. And so every time you walk into these areas, you are in the shroud and you're dying. Your guy's the only person who doesn't inflict the disease that it gets. He can run through it and he'll slowly die, but once he's out of it, he's okay. You're the only person that can do this. I don't think it's ever explained why you're the only person, but that's kind of the backstory to this game. Right off the bat, there are reviews on this game up and down on YouTube. There was one guy that I watched who did a phenomenal review. And for me to do a review as good as him, I couldn't. That guy, he was so good. I will put his name on screen right now. I highly recommend you watch his review. He says so many things that I wanted to put in my review if I was doing a regular review. Instead, I'm trying to pick this game apart. I highly recommend you watch his review. And if you want to see somebody rip this game's mechanics apart, rip this game's problems apart, that's what I'm here for. I really want to talk about why this game failed and where it succeeded, because they had some insane successes in this game. They also had some very big failures, and I also like to pick games apart by how they're made, not by how the player feels while they play them. Hit his review up if you want to see a more in-depth how the game is made and why it was made good and bad. That's what I'm here for. Let's jump right into UIs. The menu at first looks a lot nicer than it is. When I first came to this game, I thought that it was going to work out really nice, and it works out okay, but I will say it's basic. You have your world map. It looks detailed. There are crucial elements missing from this map that you really do need to play this game. Every single review has mentioned that it's hard to get around. Well, I realize that, it's hard to get around because everything is cliffs in this game. Every line you see on this map, like these circles, you cannot go from A to B. Nowhere on this map can you see where the road is to get up anything. So you are running for hours. This game, the way they made this map, is simply just made to waste your time. It doesn't want to show you how to get from A to B, and every single review you watch, people will complain about going from A to B. You can see everything pops up, kind of shows me what locations they are. You can kind of click on them. You can set pings, waypoints. I will say there's one thing with the UI I wish they would have done more. It's the create marker. You get 4 markers. A flag, a glider, a bag, and a wildcat. There's nowhere in this game I've ever thought, man, I need to know where this animal is. There's very few animals in this game, and the ones that are in this game, you don't have to hunt. You only get 4 options. Why'd you give me a wildcat? That doesn't make sense. The only thing I can think of. So one of the other things that I'm going to talk about is the fact that you can exploit chests. You find gold chests. They're the only chests you really want to look for because they're the only things with meaningful items in it. There are hundreds of chests scattered throughout this world. Almost all of them mean nothing. They're not going to have anything good in them. When you find a gold chest, that one might have something good in it. There are very few. I think I found 6. And I've explored a little over half the early access map. Somewhere around 50% of the early access map. I'll explain why I've only explored 50%. I have beat this early access game. I'll get into that later too. The only reason I can think of that they have this bag is to mark where gold chests are. The only reason to mark where a gold chest is because you open it when you find it. Is so that you can unload your game, go to the main menu, come back in. You'll be able to open it and get the items out of it again. This game, it's almost like they developed it knowing that you were going to use exploits. And it's a very odd feeling. Because me as a player, I don't really use exploits to beat games. I just don't feel good about it. There are certain things in games that the developers put in a game that are really dumb. And maybe they shouldn't have put them in the game. I'll use an exploit to get around that one thing. If it's there. You're making this huge open world RPG game. Why didn't you just put more chests or more ways for me to get loot? Why did you have to make it so I had to turn your game off and then turn it back on and continuously do this over and over and over and over just to get a decent set of armor or a decent weapon? Whatever. We're talking UIs. There's a lot to rant on this game. You're going to hear it as I go. These glider symbols, I don't really understand why the glider symbol. You can clearly see the high areas. They're lighter color. You want to jump off this mountain with your glider. It's that easy. I don't need a marker for that. And the last one was the flag. I actually put, you see all these flags? The only reason I use them is I know that this flag is a bridge that connects this area and this area. This flag is the one road that you need to go up this mountain. It's everywhere in this game. This flag gets you out of this shroud to here. I was talking about them not having roads on their map. That is something that I do believe that they should put in this game. As an early access thing, I think an update should be roads fill in. There aren't many roads. If you're going to give us markers, they could easily just add markers to this. Give us markers that are meaningful. If I find a boss that I want to farm, if that's what you're making this game to do is to exploit the fact that things respawn, then give me a boss symbol. Give me a sword symbol. Give me house symbols, chest symbols. Give me the symbols that I can actually use in this game. Giving me a wildcat, I've seen 2. I've played for 40 hours. I've seen 2 in the game. And you don't need them. There's no resource that you need from them. It doesn't make sense. Everything else pretty good. The quest log is pretty basic. This is a 5-stage quest. This is a 2-stage quest. This is a 1-stage quest that's signified by these diamonds. This one, you can actually go back, read what you did. That was nice. It wasn't bad. The rewards for your quests are absolute trash. When you go and find whatever this block is, these are blocks for helping you build at your base. You can just easily go mine a rock. I can literally, right now, back out of this, go hit a rock a few times and build this block. It'll take me about 1 minute. I don't know why I have to do a 2-stage quest to get that. You have your main story quests are, I think they were gold. I don't have any more because I beat the game. And then you have your companion quests, which are blue. Then you have these random little quests that are basically just fillers. I'm going to tell you right now, the quests in this game are absolutely meaningless. You realize right away that the quests are just a laundry list. They're do this for me, do that for me, do this for me, do that for me, go get this, go get that, go get this. I don't know, you have to find a farmer's kettle a carpenter's saw blade. You know, it's just these random items. They're like, oh, hey, you know, I'm forgetful and I forgot this. Maybe you should learn to pick your stuff up when you leave from your village. When you pack your entire house and your life up, don't forget your saw blade laying on the table. Why is that my problem? After about 20 of those quests, you just kind of get sick of this game. Crafting in this game is, again, it's there, it's clean, but it is basic. The backpack, I mean, you don't get all these slots when you start. I have 16 extra spaces right now. You start with this little bit. I will say when you start the game, there are so many resources put into this game. You know, you have all sorts of different plants, and like beehives give you both honey and wax, and you have different berries, and you have not just logs but twigs, and you have, you know, all these things all over, and it's really cool. It's nice that they threw all that in there as items, because a game with lots of items is better than a game without items. The bad thing is that there's so many all over that when you start, you're instantly going to fill this inventory, and your chests are going to fill, because I think you get 14 slots, maybe 16 per chest. You're constantly just filling chests when you first turn this game on. It doesn't last very long, thankfully. You very quickly get the ability to make better chests. They're not amazing, but they're better. The ability to swap in and out of your tool belts is simply the Alt button when you're in game, right here at the bottom of my screen. Super nice, super easy, super fluent. Everything has its own look, and it's vibrant enough where you can make out all the items pretty quickly. So that was they did that pretty well. This is your normal, you know, put gloves on, take them off. It's pretty easy. Unequip, equip. There it is. All items have stats. You have your normal, your archery or your range slot. I do wish they would have gave you two, because you can hold a staff and a bow at the same time. You can use archery and spells at the same time. The one thing is that I can quick use my bow by pressing Q on my keyboard. I cannot quick use my staff then by pushing something else. I have to toggle to my staff to use it. But I could switch this to my staff, and then I could use my staff with Q, and I'd have to toggle to my bow. Why can't I just have a hotkey for both? I don't know. If they're going to throw half of it in there, why not throw both of them in there? You have 2 ring placements and your typical armor slots. Your skill tree, this looked so much better when I started the game. So all of these had their own, you know, like, oh, I want to be an assassin. You can spec all the way through. You'll notice by level 15 that this is actually really basic. Like, I went warrior just because I didn't want to spend time. I tested all mechanics on spells and mechanics on bows. After I did that, I just spec'd hard into melee because I just didn't want to take the time to get the spells and get the arrows. I just wanted to run the game, to see the game. These things are so basic. Like, this gives you life. This gives you damage. 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 This gives you life. This gives you damage. This makes you swing faster, so damage. This gives you life. There it is. You can have life and damage. The one thing I will say that is nice about this, it's appealing. It looks nice. Once you read into them and understand how easy they all are, it's a very basic setup. But they did it in this, you know, customize your own way, play with your own friends. One of you could be a healer, one of you could be a wizard, you know. They did it in a balanced way that made it easy for almost all ages to understand and play. They could have went more in detail with this. This is, again, basic. So that's my complaint with the UI, is that it's basic. Next, we got map terrain. The map terrain, on first appearance, it looks great. This is amazing. I mean, everything is just cool. The thing you'll realize after you play for a couple hours is you go anywhere, your glider is always pointed down because it's a glider. The bad thing is that when you're in these places, your guy can't really get out unless you find the road. So, found a road. You're following it. You notice how thick the shroud is and how terrible it is for me to see right now? Like, to see off in the distance where I'm going. So now that we found the road, we can get out. Okay, I am now out. I am running back to my base. I already mentioned this. There's no marker for that road. I will mention this too. There is no other road anywhere in this. It does come up on this plane here. And I think it comes out. Nope, this is a cliff too. But you need to always be memorizing how to get out of areas. Not just Shroud. I mean all areas. You are always locked by cliffs. And so that's the downside to the terrain. They handmade this game. Not many games do that, and that's really cool, and I give them props. The thing that they did with that ability was frustrate the player. It's frustrating to run from A to B in this game because they purposely made it very tough. You will hear that in all other reviews. Just me wanting to go here. It took me like an hour just to figure out how to get up there. Honestly, I overlooked the fact that there's a bridge and you have a grappling hook in the beginning that you need to make. So I actually tried to figure out a way up there, and you can. You can run all the way over, and there's a road right in here that brings you up and in. Everything in this game, every place you go, there's nothing tough about this game. There's nothing hard. You're simply fighting. The environment that they made, the map they made, is always a struggle in this game. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the graphics. You guys have seen it. You guys have seen me run around now. The graphics on my guy. The layover graphics on your cosmetics. The layover graphics on the building material in the background. It's not bad. Sure, there could be more detail. But for what the game is, it's pretty good. Their fire isn't terrible. The one thing I do want to say about the graphics that you will not hear in other reviews, I've not heard anyone say this yet, is that there's a graininess to this whole game. This fire, I can't get it to show in my videos. Like, I have literally looked in my edits and you guys can't see it. There are little squares that make up this fire right now that I can see on my screen. No matter how much I pump my graphics, if I put my graphics all the way up to epic on every setting, there's still going to be little squares in that fire and in that fog in the background. They're little squares. I can see them right now on my screen. Does it wreck the game? No. Just know that is the one downside to the graphics that I found, is that it's grainy. Also, in my intro video, if you're really interested in grainy graphics, about 2 minutes in, I actually show my guy, I move him around in the sunlight, and you can actually watch the trail of grain, the grainy graphics trail off of him. The next category that I normally go over is the cosmetics, item cosmetics, player cosmetics, stuff like that. This is the graphics you get. I mean, it's not bad. Is it the best? No. It's kind of a mid-grade graphic. For the game that they put out, the cosmetics in this, they're not terrible. There's never a time in the game where I was like, oh, that looks really bad or really janky. You can see my shield looks really cool. The glow they put on them looks really nice. I will say they did lighting. Really goodness. The light in the background right now, this is early dawn. The sun hasn't come up, and you can see it's slowly brightening this area. In the middle of the day, it's going to be bright. They did a really good job. The other thing they did with their illumination, with their lighting, the torches, when you run through dark caves, are almost spot on what your illumination of a torch should be. Also, the glowing sword that I have glows just bright enough where you can run in the dark without a torch. What this allows, I thought was really interesting. It allows a melee build like me. I have to hold a torch to see at night. It's black at night, but once I found this sword, I have just enough light to run around, not feel lost, not feel like claustrophobic to the dark. It doesn't illuminate as much as a torch, but it gives me enough to do what I need to do. Plus, I can fight while I can see at night now. I thought that was an insanely cool touch that they threw in. That is, the little nuances that they did put in are really nice. Next, we're going to go to build mechanics. Build mechanics, I do have some material. I'll show you right now. You actually need this item. So you make this item. It's a construction hammer. You hit tab. You get this menu at the bottom. It doesn't explain this to you. If you hit alt, you have to read all the buttons at the bottom. It says more shapes. 4M, I'm guessing is 4 meter. You can place these blocks. That's really cool. The one thing this game did that I have not seen in other games is the 1M blocks. These things allow you to custom build. You know, like I wanted to custom build like an upright for my bed. So like almost like a bed frame. So I just built one. It doesn't have one in the game, not for a while. So I built one of these and I slapped my bed on there so it looked nicer. So it was a cool thing. As you guys can kind of tell, things click together really nice. It's all pretty clean. There is one gripe that I would have. It is the door frames. One of the door frames wasn't as high as the wall, which is weird because it was a 4M door frame. Let's see if I can actually find it here. No, it was a circular one. I can't remember how to build it. Maybe it was a special item from my blacksmith or my construction worker downstairs. You get these round door frames, and the door frame's like 3 meters tall instead of 4. And there's no block to fill it, so you have to slap those individual small squares in there. There's workarounds for these things, like I just explained, but it's an annoyance that I didn't see coming, and no other block would click into there, because in this construction menu, you actually have beams right here, if it's going to show it. Yeah, right here. The beam only snaps to certain levels, and it was actually too high for the door frame level that I needed to fill. So that was my only gripe with the building. There are workarounds for it. I should throw it in somewhere. I'll throw it in the build mechanics. Is these guys used an engine. A special engine. It's been out in other games, but it hasn't been implemented as nicely. They allowed you to manipulate the ground however you want. So if you want to dig a cave, you can dig a cave. If you want to dig down to a quest, you can dig down to a quest. You can dig to literally China if you want. You can just keep digging. You can do whatever you want. I will say this also allows you to glitch out bosses. If there's ever a boss that you are having a really hard time with, you can just dig a hole, drop him in it. His attacks will miss you and you can just kill him. Exploit. The other exploit I wanted to talk to you guys about was these flame altars. Now, what a flame altar allows you to do is to build around it. Now, if you level up a flame altar, so this one's 40 by 40 by 40, every time you level this up, see if I could upgrade it. Now it's 80 by 80 by 80. It allows you to exploit the entire game. You can just simply build your way across the map, because the game allows you to build 4 altars at a time. So I have one down by my base right now, and I'm not going to erase that one. But the one I just set allowed me to get this far. I can simply just go break that altar right there that I just placed down. I can just turn the flame off, extinguish it. Now, after 30 seconds, that's not going to be a flame altar anymore. I can build another one here because it only costs like 4 stone to build one. And I can just continue building wherever I want in this game and go there. It's just an exploit in the game. You can go as high as you want. You can go all the way up. I don't even know where the game ends. You can just go to where the game ends. I'm sure you hit a ceiling, but I've seen videos of people going probably twice as high as that tower in the background and being fine and just flying everywhere they need to fly. The other thing it allows is if you build a flame altar, you can teleport to it. So once you have that platform floating in the sky way above that you can fly anywhere from, or to anywhere from, you can just continuously teleport back and fly anywhere you want. It is one of the quickest and easiest exploits to get around in this game that I've ever seen. I don't know why the designers didn't realize you would do that. One of the things I'm going to talk about next is the gameplay mechanics. I caught this right away. There's a gameplay mechanic, glitch, bug, incompleteness. I don't know what you want to call it. I've never seen it in a game, where there are certain items that you have to stand directly on top of to pick up. It will not give you the animation or the ability to pick it up, or the option, until you're directly above it. You will run 100 feet in the game, and the same item will be on the same type of terrain. You'll be 4 feet away, and it'll be like, do you want to pick that up? I'll give you another example. The bookshelves. You will run into a room, and there will be a shelf full of books. Books give you a resource. It will ask you, do you want to dismantle these books? And you say yes, and you get the resource. You will run into the next room, and there will be an identical bookshelf with the exact same books on it. And it will not give you that option. You have to break the bookshelf and pick the resource up off the ground. And it's just scattered throughout the game. One room will have the ability to pick them up. The other room you have to break it. One room you can pick it up. The other room you have to break it. It's just this back and forth wishy-washy mechanic in the game. I have no idea why it's there. I have no idea. They just didn't have time to go back and polish. A lot of this game just needed polishing. A lot of this game they messed up. I haven't talked about the big ones yet. Where in-game mechanics is my favorite category in any review. Let me start off with the good ones. The good ones, as you guys can see, is the movement. The movement's nice. Oh, I wish I could show you the dodge roll. I have an ability that actually takes the dodge roll out. The movement of this game is nice. The attacking is nice. The bows shoot nice. The spells cast nice. The enemies, everything works really nice. Everything's clean. Everything moves well. I have not found any really buggy movement mechanics in this entire game. So that's something they did really well. It's really nicely done. Something that I didn't love but didn't hate was they put lore pages everywhere. I can't dock at a point because I love lore. I love stories. I love little touches that games put in them. These they have pages scattered throughout this whole world. Each page really isn't on the main story at all. It's not going to give you any like big insight to something important. They're little stories of the people and what their lives, how they were trying to deal with the shroud before they died, and how it was impacting their life, maybe a family member that they were trying to save. And as you're going to a side quest, which aren't very long, you will run along these pages of somebody else's life and what they were going through as you progress through a small side story. And so you get a story within your side quest. And it's just these cool touches. There's a different story for almost every side mission that I've done, because there's so many pages everywhere that I'm calling it a game mechanic, was the fact that they didn't proofread their letters. There is grammatical errors, grammar mistakes, opinion is not spelt with one I. There was a paragraph somewhere that had one period in it. There were 6 sentences, 1 period, and it was in the middle of the paragraph. These mistakes are in all the letters. They're really bad, and they tried to put accents on the words, but they already spelt a bunch of stuff wrong, so it's hard to read an accent with incorrect grammar. It was just an annoyance I ran into. Thought I'd mention it. Let's get into the bad things in this game. These are my favorite things to talk about. One is very simple. It's your stamina recharge. You have to run everywhere in this game. You can see my stamina is quite big. You should be able to go quite a ways, but you are always running to find those roads to get up cliffs, so your stamina goes bye-bye real fast, because you spend hours running around in this game, and your stamina takes a long time to charge. You are constantly just stopping, literally like I am right now, just standing there, waiting for your stamina bar to come back. What makes this worse is the fact that I am at my house right now. You can see in the top left corner of the screen, it says rested. When that time runs out, I lose over half my stamina. So that bar depletes twice as fast, and I'm standing around twice as often. It feels like jet lag in the game, and it doesn't feel good. Because you're doing stuff, you're killing things, you're running around, stop. And then everything starts going again, and you're doing things, and you're killing stuff. Stop. And it does this to you non-stop because the stamina just takes too long to recharge, and you just don't have enough of it. And I spec'd into stamina. If you guys saw my skill tree, I actually went into, I don't know if it was a ranger branch, or I went into the stamina branch and got points into stamina just because this was so annoying. And it didn't help much because once you run out, you still have to wait. You still have to stop. There is no real workaround that I've found. I can't remember if there's stamina potions, but if there are, you'd be using so many of them, you'd constantly be gathering resources for them. It makes the game feel worse. It does. After a while, it really weighs on you. Mix that with the roads and what I'm about to talk about, and it really, really puts a damper on this game. The next thing I want to talk about is something I love in games. You need this. I say this all the time. I say this in almost every game that I talk about. Every time I talk about what makes a game good, it's the combat. I already said everything moves very clean. The combat is broken. So this has a Souls-like combat. You dodge, you block, and you swing. It's Dark Souls combat. A lot of games are going to this. It's something that's very famous right now. A lot of players like this. The problem with it is Dark Souls became famous for their combat because of one reason. It is a make or break combat style where you do not want to get hit, because getting hit is devastating. What makes it possible in Souls-like games to not get hit is a special mechanic that they put in their dodge roll called iframes. What this means is when a huge boss is about to do a devastating attack on you and you see it coming, and that attack is coming at you and you dodge roll at just the right moment, you're invincible. That's what the I in iframes stands for, is invincibility frames. That is what completes their combat. This game doesn't have those. They just left them out. So in this game, when you fight your mini bosses or your regular bosses, and you see a devastating attack coming at you, it's too late. Doesn't matter that you saw it. It doesn't matter that you reacted at the right time. It doesn't matter that you dodge rolled. You're about to die. You're about to have a 5 to 10 minute run back to your body. What kind of BS? Oh, no, no, no. No, no, no. No! The next thing I have to say is that the reaction of your buttons is negated by the animations in this game. I don't know how many times I hit my dodge roll key or my block shielding key, like to pull up your shield, and it didn't work because there was some animation or something stopping the game from allowing my shield to come up or my dodge roll to happen. This is the boss that I ran into coming. Yep, we've killed lots of you. You're oh my god. Remember when I said that my dodge roll doesn't work sometimes? It's a lot of fun. Doesn't hurt at all. There's no pain there. It hurts a lot to see a game move as fluent as this one does, and they forgot the most important detail to the combat. It hurts playing this, seeing death coming at you and knowing you cannot do anything to stop it. The second most important thing that they forgot in their combat is blocking. Your blocking works 95% of the time. There's 5% of the time that an enemy's weapon will go right through my shield. It will be dead on. Fully shielded. Fully fucking shielded. Goal was to not get hit once, and the guy swings through my fucking shield. These things happen. You know you did everything right. You know you pushed all the right buttons. You saw that your guy was prepared to get attacked, and the game is about to gank you because usually there is a mob of enemies, and when you get hit, you get stunned or staggered, and you're gonna die. There's nothing you can do but know that you're gonna run back 5 minutes to your body. It is terrible. Oh, he's level 15. Wow. I don't know if you guys believe me when I say this, but I pushed my shield button, and I don't know if it didn't work or if it worked and they stabbed through my fucking shield. I have problems with that in this game. It is not hard to make blocking mechanics in a game. It is pretty simple, and I cannot believe they got this wrong in a Souls-like combat game. That's really bad. That's something they need to fix. The last two things I had in my game mechanics were something I had already talked about, was the map, not showing roads, because the map is a mechanic in the game. Not showing roads, not showing checkpoints. There's very few checkpoints. I keep saying that you gotta run back to your body. It's because your checkpoints, they're few and far between. When you do find one, it feels pretty good, but your map doesn't mark it, so if you ever come back, you have to memorize where all the checkpoints are. These maps are huge. They're ginormous. Good luck memorizing every road and every checkpoint in the game. It really feels like they made the map to slow you down, and it really feels like they took the roads out of their map, off their physical map, and the checkpoints off their physical map to slow you down. I do not like games that waste my time. This game feels like they purposely wasted my time, and I do not appreciate that in a game, and I always dock points for it, because a game should not need to slow the player down or waste my time just to give me more content time. I am here to play a game. I am not here to run around a labyrinth. I am here to explore an open world game. Quit effing with me. Like, why as a developer would you ever say, oh, we aren't gonna build this game as big as we want, but we still want to give them 100 hours of content? Let's just dick around with the player. That's dumb. Don't do that to me. Alright, I already mentioned this. The story and lore is a category I always go over. The story, I already explained the backstory in the beginning of this video. Your guy is special. They get a gift. The gift hurts humanity, and your guy is supposed to save them. The story itself, you don't really, in the early access, you don't really get much more than what they start you off with. I really thought they would progress the main story a little bit for early access players, but they didn't. There's little touches that you hear that kind of fill in little gaps, but really, your guy doesn't progress story-wise, and the game progresses overall very, very minimally, and it's kind of scary. There's a lot of game here, but it doesn't move anywhere. Story moves game along. That's just kind of how it works. The lore, I already talked about the notes everywhere. I want to say one thing about those notes. I thought it was really cool that all those notes were in, if a timeline, present and past are here, all these notes are in this specific part of the timeline. So you really get this good internal thought about what the world was like and how people's mentalities were at that exact point in the history of this game. I thought that was cool. They did a really good job with that aspect of it. I'm going to move to the character building. I already brushed over this as well. The character building in this game, you have all the skill trees that I showed you. You can mix and match. You can go into magic and melee, magic and range. You can probably go into all three. I believe the max level in this game is 25, but you get, I think skill points are unlimited because you can just exploit the game, back out, come back in, and I believe the elixir roots down here, I think they respawn and they give you skill points. I'm gonna say you can probably just max out a bunch of different stats. What this tree allows you to do is play with your friends in all different ways. So this is nice. The character building is nice. The other thing that plays into character building is your weapons. As you can see, they all have, underneath legendary, they all have their special abilities on each weapon. Let's see here, where's a better example? This one right here. You know, I'm a melee guy. This customizes my character. The one thing I will say about all this is that I wish the loot was, I wish they had more of it. I wish there was ultra rare items or quest, you know, super cool quest items to obtain. And they didn't do that in this game. Every single player that I've looked up and watched play the end of this game, they're wearing the same things I am, or they're wearing their final sets of armor for every single type, melee, archery, and wizard. They're either wearing what I'm wearing, or they're wearing that final set. It shouldn't be like that. There should be more of a mix in this game. You go on to Diablo 4, character building is wrapped around your items really hard in Diablo. You could look up 30 different people's final builds, and maybe 3 of them will be wearing the same type of armor, but they will have completely different stats on that armor. This game does not have that variety. It would be nice to see them throw more into that. The next thing I talk about is music. I never noticed the music in this game. It's almost like it didn't exist in my mind. This was the first game I ever played background music over in my videos. I will say the soundtrack for Enshrouded, I was really surprised to see that they had 66 soundtracks in this game, in their early access game, which is right next to Elden Ring at 67. The bad thing is that the average soundtrack for Enshrouded was 1 minute, which means that you don't really notice sounds if they only throw them in one part of the game. And that's what I think they did, because I never noticed any of those soundtracks, which is a shame. I actually don't think they did their music very well. The sound effects on this game is the next category. The sound effects are there. You know, you can hear it. They're not bad, they're there. There's nothing to complain about. I will say they didn't like draw my attention or, you know, impress me in any way. I just never noticed a lack of them. The next category I got is playability, which is how fun was this game? How easy is it to turn on and play? To be honest, after all the complaints I have, it was pretty easy to play. I actually had a lot of fun with this game. There was a downside to this game, but it was at the very end. So the actual turning this game on and playing it was nice. The fact that this game doesn't actually introduce the fact that an ending is coming was a jolt. Because you are playing this game and everything is fluid, everything is moving, and then you're done. No one talks about the ending. No one talks about the monster at the end. Nothing introduces it. You just simply run into the right room at the right time, fight it, and you're done. Game's over. That's how the early access is. The full game will not be like that. But as far as the actual playability of the game, you can play this game very easily. Nothing in it that I've talked about broke the game in any way that makes it unplayable or unfun. It does make it feel odd. There are things that feel bad, like the dodge roll. Once you understand that it's broken and janky, you can try your best to play around it and still have a really good time. Alright, we got the replay value next. I think I paid $30 for this game. As you can see, this is what I've explored. The map is quite vast. I think early access gives you about 45% of the map. So this is all I played. This map, actually, you can explore almost to this wall and halfway up to the top. So I've only explored about half of the early access. Like I said, I didn't try to beat the game this quick. I was simply just running quests as quickly as I could, and one of them completed the game. I looked up what I was missing on the other half of the map there, and it just kind of seemed like a copy and paste of what I'd already played. I didn't go over that. The bosses, the mini bosses, are copy and paste. You fight the same one like 8 times. There are a couple that you only fight like twice. For the most part, there's only 4 mini bosses and a main boss. in this game. The other thing is that there's a ton of structures in this game, and there's a ton of ruins and things to explore. There's tons of caves, there's tons of chests. You soon realize that there's no point in exploring any of it because the chests don't have anything good unless they're a gold chest, and gold chests aren't going to be in dilapidated houses. For me to not play half of the early access map didn't really bother me, and it should, because I love games like this and I love to explore worlds like this, but I just simply didn't want to continue doing the exact same thing that I was doing the entire time, which isn't a good sign. It started to get boring. Only took me 30 hours to do what I was doing, and I was kind of fudging around the whole time. The next thing is the game length. I think for the early access, the game length, what I said is true. I spent 30 hours doing what I did and beating the game. A lot of people have 50 hours in, and they're having a lot of fun with it. They all have the same complaint that I just said, that it is copy and paste. If you really like exploring the world, you like Dark Souls-like combat games that they don't have the level of difficulty behind it that Dark Souls has, this game's right up your alley, and you'll probably have tons of fun with it for about 50 hours. So for $30, 50 hours, it's not a bad value. It's kind of a cool game to explore. The stories are nice. I can't say that it's a bad price. I think Palworld came out at $30 too, and I will say I think I got more with that game, and that game was really buggy, but I do believe it had more in it. The next subject that I talk about is the concept of the game. What games did they slap together to make this? What's the idea behind this game? The idea behind this game is simple. It is Breath of the Wild, which you've seen with my glider, and the open world. It is Elden Ring, which was open world and Souls-like combat, which this has, and is Valheim, which is the builder style that I showed you. Those are the three concepts, slapped them together. It works really nice. It feels really nice. The concept behind it's really well done. It was a good thought, and they did an okay job executing it, but they could have done a lot better. The concept itself, I thought was really cool. The direction of this game does go almost nowhere. I already talked about it, the main quest of this game. You never really know that you're doing a main quest. Even though it's a main quest mission, it doesn't progress anything. So you never really feel like you're getting anywhere. So the direction of the game, I would say, is incomplete. Lastly, we have the complexity of the game. The complexity of the game is all the things you can do, see, interact with. There are no NPCs. There's a lot of items. They have a really cool pickaxe that goes through the ground. Your companions at your base are the only NPCs, and they have a set script. They don't really say much. The game needs more. It needs more complexity. So that is the last category of my review. I gave it a 105 out of 180, which brings me almost to a 6 out of 10, but I am going to round down to a 5 out of 10. I think this game is an average game for how it's built right now. I do think that it can easily go up if they work on it, and they will. At this point, it doesn't matter that half the map is still unexplored. I just told you I explored a quarter of the map, and I'm bored of it. I'm bored of running around cliffs. I'm bored of looking for roads. I'm bored of praying for check marks. I'm bored of searching structures that don't have any items I want. I'm bored of the enemies that I can easily kill, but I keep dying on because my dodge roll and my block don't work. You will get 30 to 50 hours of semi-fun. You'll have a lot of fun probably in the beginning. 30 to 50 hours is the most you're going to get out of this game, and I don't really want to see more of it until the mechanics are fixed. That's my take on this game. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.